Okay, I think we should be live now. Hello. Hello. Good evening, guys. Good evening. This is David
Evening.
Astoba coming here live with Darren. Darren, where are you from?
I am from North Battleford, Saskatchewan, Canada.
I always could say
And today
Canada.
we're
I'm sorry?
yeah, there you go. We're a minus 6 today, so for all you American people, about 18 degrees today. So we were minus 40 the other day, so it's warming up. It's looking good.
So we're spoiled over here in Baltimore, like with 40-degree weather.
Mm-hmm.
I could say Canada, but I cannot pronounce the name of your city, Saskatchewan, and all that, so I just tried.
It's a problem.
Anyway, guys, it's 5 p.m. on the East Coast and 4 p.m. Central. Darren is, and what we're going to do over here today is we're going to have a quick interview of what's going on in Darren's marriage and personal transformation behind the scenes. What I love to do, as you guys know, is to interview a client as he's going through the process of turning around his marriage because it's inspiring, it's eye-opening, there are things to learn about it, and it allows men to step up into their best version and tell themselves, hey, why not me? Right? You don't have to wait for your wife to participate in the process for you to turn around your marriage. So let's go from here. Darren, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and what has been going on in your marriage in the past couple of years?
Okay, so like I said, I'm from North Battleford, Saskatchewan, Canada. I am a pharmacist and owner of a fairly large pharmacy here in North Battleford. So it's a very busy place to be at. The last couple of years in my marriage have been a little strained, especially with respect to communication. We don't communicate at times, and sometimes that has left me or my wife hurt. And as a result, there's been lack of intimacy in our marriage as well too. Because I mean, when you don't communicate and feel like you're not connected with somebody, it's hard to have that physical aspect with that person as well.
Right, and can you give a little bit of perspective on what would happen when you try to communicate?
Usually, when we try to communicate, I would shut down. That was my way of dealing with things. Sometimes was my insecurity was to just basically shut down and not deal with it, or I would just give an answer that I thought my wife would want to hear, and just to make it easier on myself. So that's kind of what would happen a lot of times like that. So, and then my wife would sometimes get frustrated with that, but I didn't know what else to say. So I would either just shut down and not talk, or just leave the room because I didn't know what to do.
So to be clear, the reason why you shut down Darren is not because you didn't care about her or you didn't love her. It's just because sometimes you just didn't know what to say.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I love my wife very much. I really do. It's just that sometimes I just didn't know what to tell her. Just plain and simple.
Right, and that's very common. Like, I mean, if you didn't love your wife, that's something we would have picked up on our first call, and we wouldn't be talking right now. Like, this is a challenge which I've had too, and which I think it's important for guys in our group to understand, is that the first qualification for knowing if you can turn around your marriage is asking yourself on a very deep level, hey, do I really love my wife? Do I really care about her? Right? Do I really, really love her? And then to ask yourself, how much of your love does she feel? And I want to ask you that question. Like about 2 weeks ago, when you reached out for help, I think it was like almost 2.5 weeks ago. You told me you love her, right? But how much of your love do you feel like Louise actually felt and trusted and was able to rely on?
10%, if like very low.
Very low. And this is, and I appreciate you sharing this, and not trying to make yourself sound good, because this is very common. A lot of guys have like their wives, they love their wives. Their wife doesn't feel entrusted, or she just says, "I love you, but I'm not in love with you," which basically means my love is stuck over here. It's in my head. It's not in my heart. You know what I mean? So tell me a little bit about, is it okay, it's up to you by the way, Darren, it just came into my head, is it okay if we go back to your previous marriage a little bit, because this is your second marriage, and I think it's helpful for some guys to sort of ask themselves questions and look into their past relationships to see if there was a
Yeah.
pattern.
Yep.
Are you cool with that?
Go right ahead.
So
Yep.
can you tell us a little bit, whatever you want, whatever you feel comfortable saying, about your first marriage, and looking in retrospect how you can see a similar thing, if whatever comes to mind.
Oh, totally similar situation. Again, I didn't want to deal with things when conversations got tough or things got tough. I just kind of shut down, left her alone. this led to basically the demise of my marriage. She didn't want to be around. She ended up having an affair on me, kind of when we were in the process of pretty much going our separate ways, but I still consider it an affair. I mean, we were still in that kind of gray area, I guess, that in between area. So I
Like
do still
working the
consider
the,
it.
the part where you're like officially trying to maybe work on it.
Yeah. And we were kind of okay, we're going to separate, we're going to do whatever. But I mean, I think she was already, having this affair already behind my back already. So, that ties a lot into your own insecurities then as well too. So, um, same situation going forward with Louise, my current wife as well too. I mean, at the time with my previous wife, I mean, I didn't recognize what was going on inside of me. I did do some counseling at the time, to kind of help deal with it, but I never really got to the root issue of what was causing me to be so insecure. Why is Darren this way? And what can we do about it to make sure Darren doesn't repeat the same kind of mistake in a marriage like he just did? And I basically didn't follow through on that. And that's on me.
Why didn't you didn't follow through on it because you didn't want to, or you didn't know what to do?
Well, like I said, I went to counseling for a little while, and that kind of made me feel a little better about myself. But then I figured, you know what, I'm going to start dating again. Well, you start dating again, you can justify a whole lot inside your head, to make yourself feel better about this current situation. But really, in actuality, what I was doing is basically me ignoring the situation, ignoring what was wrong with me. Even though I did feel a little better about myself, I still never got to the root issue of what was going on.
Gotcha. So you weren't getting, so though, like, when you no longer under the pressure of the marriage, it's easy to feel like,
Yep.
hey, I'm doing okay. This girl likes me, or we're having a good time. But you didn't
Right.
actually get the, if I understand you correctly, tell me if I'm wrong, is you didn't actually get the skill set to truly understand what went wrong on a very granular, detailed level, to be able to learn from
Absolutely.
the, to extract the value from the first marriage, and to actually get
Yeah.
confidence that came from a logical understanding, as opposed to, okay, I'm going to be confident because I feel good about myself, because I know I should feel good about myself, and I'm dating, so let me make believe I'm
Yeah.
confident. Does that make sense?
100%. 100% right on. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And you know exactly the type of relationship you attract when you're not in the right headspace, and you can justify a lot in your space. They're not good relationships, and so.
right,
But you did learn a little bit from them, right? I mean, this is, you figured, this is not where I want to be, kind of thing like that. So,
right. So tell me a little bit. Right now, how long are you married to Louise?
coming up on 10 years in the
Right.
fall.
Now, I thought it was somewhere between 8 and 12, but I wasn't sure the exact number. Um, what made you reach out for help 2 weeks ago? Because this problem has been going on for a long time. So what has been going on that, like, 2.5 weeks ago, you're like, I need help?
Yeah, I need help. Basically, Christmas was a really bad time, for me and Louise. Shortly after Christmas, I came into our bedroom. We've been sleeping in a separate bedroom, so I came up to her, and I just sat down and just kind of went, "Why aren't you helping me? What is like, don't you care?" And basically at that point, she told me, "You need to fix yourself." Words I didn't want to hear from my wife at that time, but in actuality, they were the correct words that I needed to hear. So then I looked into some counseling. Like I said, I started going to counseling and all. And then when you're in that despair and all that kind of stuff, you start reaching out, for people. And I came across a couple of your videos, that you've put online with different people, and similarly, like an interview like this that you've done, with somebody, and that kind of inspired me to, connect into your group.
I'm curious. Do you remember who the interview was with?
I'm sorry, I don't.
I'm just
I'd have to,
wondering. I did a lot of them. So what weren't you get? What were the limitations of counseling? You were going to counseling, so why wasn't it? What weren't you getting from it that you needed for your marriage?
the counseling was giving me the skills to, become more confident in myself, but I needed to be able to apply that to my marriage, and just some ideas, and processes and thoughts that I could use and implement going into my marriage to reconnect with Louisa and figure this out.
So what was the critical moment where you were like, okay, I'm going to counseling, but I need help for my marriage? What was the? Did something go on, or was it something in your head that you decided that this is not working? I'm just curious about that critical moment where you made that decision that you need to get help specifically for your marriage, not just for your confidence.
Um, well, that's a good question. Um, I think I was just thinking back and going. do I want to, do I still want to be with Louise? And no matter how deep I was in my own despair and thoughts, and okay, can I pull myself through as a person? Um, it was always there that, okay, Louise is there. This is the one you were meant to be with. Like I said, I always thought back to one of our first dates when we were walking down by the river, and she accidentally tripped, and she put her hand into my hand, and it just felt so natural and that it should be there, right? I mean, and I just thought of those feelings when I was dating with her, and kind of went, you know what, this is who I'm meant to be with, and this is why I need the help, because I don't want to let that go.
That's beautiful. And what you're saying is actually critical. In order to turn around any marriage, you actually have to be able to establish, for me at least, in order for me to take on a client, I need to be able to establish that there was at some point a healthy, beautiful, passionate connection between husband and wife. Because we cannot fix something if it was never beautiful to begin with, right? So
Right.
in order for a guy to be able to fix his marriage, he has to be able to go back in time and see that part, because what happened over time is, like, you fell in love over time, though your personality got started becoming buried under another personality. Like Louise stopped seeing who you really were, and she started seeing more and more of a lack of confidence. I'm not going to go into all the details.
Right.
So it's important for you to understand that. And I want to point out an interesting thing, which I didn't really know until now, because it's something that you said it, but we didn't focus on it, is that you're lucky that your wife actually said it to you clearly, what other women think. Your wife actually said, go fix
Go
yourself.
just, yeah.
That is a huge blessing, brother. That's huge, because most women don't say those words, although they will think those words. And they're thinking, and they will hint it, but it takes guys years to realize it. She actually said, go fix yourself, and you've done something about that. Another thing is that you haven't waited until you separated. Some guys wait until they're separate, until there's an affair going on, until there's a divorce process in place, then they reach out for help. And it's a lot harder at that point. Like, it just takes a lot more effort, and you've done it. You've reached out for help at an earlier stage, and I applaud that, because it just makes it easier for you and for me. So, I'm glad you did that. Keep tell guys you're in the program for, I think, 15 days to be exact. Um, since Sunday 2 weeks ago, I believe it was on
Yeah,
the 12th.
something like that. Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
So can you tell guys what were the biggest benefits you've gotten so far? Like, looking inside yourself, looking at the past. What skill set are you starting to pick up? What's telling you you're on the right path?
Well, first off, would be more confidence in myself, and that's been a big bonus. I mean, I'm happier in general. I'm not so weighed down by everything, so I'm happier in life going forward. The biggest thing now is that I'm starting to understand a bit where Louise can be coming from. Um, the other day, she kind of made kind of kind of a sarcastic comment about something, and whereas before I might have said something back in anger or just kind of sulked away, I responded to her in a calm, even tone, and then walked away. So just that confidence of understanding where Louise is coming from as well too. I mean, I'm hurting in this whole process, and sometimes I think I forget that Louise is too, and that's probably the biggest thing, is that there's two of us here that are hurting.
That's beautiful, and it's powerful, because a lot of guys, it's very easy to get stuck in the pain and to feel bad. A lot of guys fall into self pity. Poor me. And your ability to actually see what she's going through, which is a result of studying subconscious communication and being an amazing marriage fast track, it allows you to actually go, like, your compassion isn't just flowing from, like, okay, let me be compassionate. I want to point this out to guys, because some guys watch this stuff, watch our videos, and they're like, okay, I'll speak to my wife in a nice, even tone, right? The
Yeah, no,
reason
she'll pick up on that real quick.
you know that, right? Like,
Oh,
I love that, exactly. Like,
yeah. Don't do that.
if you just speak to your wife in a nice, even tone, what happens? I know I'm putting you on the spot. Like, if you just speak to her in a nice, even tone, but you don't actually have the ability to read her heart and read her mind and read her emotional patterns, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, you're gonna get that back. You're gonna, it's not gonna be good. She'll shut down, or she'll figure you're up to something, right?
Yeah.
And she'll just block that even more.
Exactly. Women are smart, and she'll pick up that you're just faking it. And another thing that's going to happen sooner or later is you're going to give up because
Yeah.
there's only a limit that you can fake being nice before it becomes
Yep.
impossible. You know, and I want to point this out, guys. Darren's confidence is not flowing from let me be confident. His confidence is flowing from his ability to see the marriage cancer in his life, and maybe it's a good opportunity to talk about it if you're comfortable with it. Um, what you know, what specific besides confidence? What other skills have you picked up in terms of your ability to see things or understand or interpret between you and your wife or your past? To whatever degree you feel comfortable sharing.
Um, like I said, I alluded to that. Sometimes it's the way that she's saying something, and she's coming across as sarcastic. But I just realizing now that that's just pain coming through. She's still hurting, and she's kind of, in a way, seeing how I react to those situations when she's like that. And if I react negatively, well, then it just confirms to her that I haven't changed or I haven't done anything to try to fix myself. It would just confirm to her that this is the same old Darren doing the same old things.
Right, and that's why it's important not to manipulate. That's why it's important to actually, have a process. And can I ask you though? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but it's most fun like that. And I'm putting myself on the spot
Sure.
because I didn't expect to ask this question either. Right? What was the first thing, like when you joined Amazing Marriage Blueprint, before you joined Amazing Marriage Fast Track? What was the first thing that jumped out at you once you started going through the training and really understanding the strategy? What was the first like major aha moment where your mind blew open? You were like, oh my gosh, I wish I knew that 20, 30 years ago. I know I'm putting you on the spot, but go for it.
Nope, go for it. The biggest thing is that men and women think differently. Men think logically first and then put it into emotions, and women will be all feelings and emotions and all that first. And that's why there's that common disconnect between men and women because what the heck is she saying? Well, what the heck are you saying? Because we have a different way of thinking. That's probably the biggest thing. And so I've got to realize that I can't talk to Louise logically. I can't explain it to her this, or this, right? I mean, I've got to appeal to her emotions, to her thoughts,
Mm.
that kind of stuff like that. So yeah, that's probably the biggest thing. Like,
And I'm gonna just translate a little bit of what you said. For a woman, her opinions and her decisions are rooted in her emotions. Her logic will just be her justification, which is why she will say things which are inconsistent. Which is why she will say things which to you sound illogical because the logic doesn't even matter to her. Like she'll change it on the day based on the weather. It doesn't matter. It depends on the husband's ability to reach into her emotions, and that's where he can influence her opinions and decisions in an authentic way. Wow. No, you're a man of short words, I gotta say, because I could look. I know typically how long these interviews take, and so I'm, I'm gonna wrap it up in a minute. I have another question for you though. Um, so, so for guys watching this, like if you want to see if this program is for you, like if you could be the next Darren, there'll never be another Darren, okay? But if you want to be like Darren and see if Amazing Marriage Blueprint is for you, just write I'm next. Now it doesn't mean you're next. It means we'll give you a shot. We'll have an interview. We'll see if you fit for the program or not. We'll get a better diagnosis of what is and what is not happening in your marriage, what type of connection you have with your wife, what are the things you've tried to do, and what's the next right step. If it makes sense, we'll talk about working together. But if you want to have that chance, write down "I'm next" in the comments under the video. But I got to ask you, Darren, two questions. Number one, will you come back to be interviewed again in 4 weeks, so that guys can
absolutely.
have? Because you see, Darren is only 2 weeks into the process, right? But typically, what happens are bigger breakthroughs as someone goes along the journey of marriage transformation. So we got that commitment from you. You'll be back in 4 weeks. It's beautiful. I used to only interview clients at the end, major success. And what I found is it's so beautiful for guys to see the smaller incremental, you know, mini successes, which is actually the foundation. The foundation of a long term happy marriage are happening right now as you study these skills, as you're picking up the intuition, the confidence, the clarity, the ability to see your marriage cancer, the ability to see problems in your relationship when they're very small and easy to fix. This is where you're building an incredible marriage, right? The fruit of the success, maybe later, but it's the foundation is happening right now. And I appreciate you taking the time here. But the final question is, what are you looking forward to in the next couple of weeks in terms of communication with Louise, connection with her, and what type of breakthroughs are you looking forward to? What are your goals?
My goals in the next few weeks is quite easy. I just want to rebuild that relationship with my wife. I want to rebuild the intimacy with her, and I want to communicate with her on a better level. And I look back at our marriage vows. I have them hidden in my drawer, and I look back at what we said to each other. And
You have the
I
what?
just want
I'm
to bring
sorry. You have the what in the drawer?
from our wedding vows. I still have the actual pieces of paper that we read off of when we got married,
Oh wow.
and we wrote our own vows to each other. And I have those saved in my drawer. And I just want to go back and relive those promises we made to each other. So that's my goal is to develop that again.
Right. And now you have the ability. See, here's an important thing. A lot of guys have that natural instinct, that love, that compassion, that desire to live those vows. But what happens is, as the marriage starts deteriorating and marriage cancer kicks in, they start losing the ability to actually see how to make it happen. So the desire is still there to make those vows happen and to live those vows, but the skills sorts of, they don't know how they fell in love and they don't know how to fall back in love. But what you're doing right now is you're actually learning the skills how to implement those vows. So you're combining the strategy together with your heart, with your love, with your commitment. And that's obviously something I can't do for you, right? You come to the table with your heart, with your commitment, with your vows, with your desire. And I'm excited to see what happens.